10 years ago, you may have hardly fathomed the idea of going past just outside the vicinity of your house or a local shop, only to tread in the midst of tents and bags blocking the street up ahead. But for us, this is a present reality today. It's not just a mere figment of our imagination anymore. We see these in our freeways. We see this in transport areas. We've heard of this in the infamous place called Skid Row. LA indeed is being hit with one of the hardest impacts of homelessness that are increasing in a trend year by year. Where I live in South LA, this is very most visible, but is by no means exclusive, as we see these in many areas of the metropolitan region. And so today I'm going to inform you about the current state of homelessness in Los Angeles today. First, we're going to look at the causes of its rise. Then we'll take a look at the effects that it's having on us today. And then we will explore some of the responses that officials are providing to combat the crisis. First, in its increase from the shift in early history, homelessness began to take a rise from downtown LA, and this is coupled with social and financial changes. From Skid Row, there was a policy of containment rather than prevention in homelessness, and that's what really made it rise. Dr. Douglas Mungin, a Skid Row researcher, says that from the 40s to the 70s, there was a shift from working temporarily in LA to seeking permanent settlement, and this led to a population boom. Services and shelters were in more demand, but the communities in which they lived wanted them elsewhere. And so they said to confine those populations and their services to a 50-block section called Skid Row. It served as a buffer zone, and the idea was if it was out of sight, it was out of mind. There was no confrontation of the homelessness. The policy eventually failed with limited services, and the homeless population continues to grow until it was too contained and spilled over and moved beyond to other parts of LA. There are also financial and social hardships that are forcing people from their homes. We assume that the homeless really have to do with drug abuse and illnesses, but the large majority are affected by socioeconomic factors. These are invisible people living in motels and shelters. The LA Homeless Services Authority says that there is an extremely high cost of living, as cited by the Guardian article. An LA County stat reported that renters need about 2.8 times more than the minimum wage to afford a monthly rent. This is also coupled with the Great Recession in 2008 and COVID-19, and others are dealing with other social issues such as family dysfunction, divorce, abuse, and just run to the streets. Of course, the harsh realities of homelessness and experiences cause others to try to cope with drugs and get their pain relieved, although this leads to illnesses and addictions. For example, methamphetamine is very cheap, and it's a potent addictive force that is very easy to obtain. But Dr. Drew Binsky, who is an addict medicine specialist, has reported that these lead to more cases of psychosis, which leads to a loss of self and external reality, and can be chronic if not treated. Housing takes months sometimes to obtain, and chronic illnesses need to be treated for a long variety of time, which combined can lead to years of homelessness before any recovery. Now that I've shown you some of the causes, let me also show you some of the profound impacts. We have an unprecedented case of homelessness today that are affecting our daily lives. The LAHSA of 2022 showed that there are 41,980 homeless in LA City, and in the county there are over 69,000, according to the LA Almanac. There's a steady rise, and this linear trend that you see in this visual aid can clearly show that from the past years in 2015 to 2020. As you can see, in the middle portion of 2018, the homelessness decreased a little bit by 3,000, but that was nothing compared to the next subsequent rise of 5,000 in 2019, and this all has accounted to a 30% overall increase. And these have had implications on our external environments. The streets can be littered with waste and garbage, and these are leading to conflicts between residents and the homeless, and it not only does it drive us away in tourism, but also in diseases. Now that I've shown you some of the effects it's having, here are some of the solutions. Well, some of the solutions have been to build more affordable housing. With the 2016 Triple H bond proposition, this was $1.2 billion from the city in funding to build thousands of units. However, some people have criticized it because only 14% of all the total units have ever been completed since that time, and 52% are still under construction, 22% still need permission to start building, and there have been delay in housing costs, and that's one of the aspects in the housing. Now, on the mental health illness side, they try to treat it by having more urgent measures to enforce getting treatment. Governor Newsom and California lawmakers instituted a program that would enforce stronger measures to seek treatment, because the illnesses and drugs contribute to a loss of self-control and judgment. The program actually compels people to take treatment for at least 12 months, and you can be held up to 3 days in a psychiatric hospital against your will, and refusal may actually lead to fines or charges. Now, it's criticized now because people say that this is too coercive and it will not be as effective as appealing to them, but proponents are saying this will put more pressure on this urgent situation. We drastically need to reduce the rise. And so those who actually undergo the help that they need, eventually they'll have a greater desire for it and will have stabler treatment. So in conclusion, we discussed about the cause of the homelessness crisis today. We discussed about the effects that it's having on our society, and we looked into some of the efforts that are being done to address this crisis. Hopefully that we will do the most that we can to maximize our efforts, and the reality of these tents and homelessness and suffering everywhere will once again be a mere figment of our imagination, and that our quality of life will improve for all of us.